Okay. Turn this- Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call the regular town board meeting of September 10th, 2019 to order. Please rise, we'll pledge to the flag and then have a moment of silence for 9/11. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing so we have a moment of silence for 9/11. Okay, please be seated. So I hope you all got an agenda so you can follow along as to what's going on and when. The first thing is to approve 2 minutes. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 13, 2019 Town Board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The second one is to approve the minutes of the August 15, 2019 special meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And now we're going to go into the public discussion part. Or is anybody going to want to talk at the public discussion comment part? Because we got to open it. If you're not going to talk, then I won't open it. But it includes talking about the Airbnb. So Airbnb, you can talk about the events law and all the other items on the agenda. Okay. I make a motion that the town board open.
We have, oh, you're opening it?
Now.
For anything on the agenda, it's now.
Anything on the agenda. You will not be talking during the actual discussion of those 2 items on the agenda when the board is discussing, because that's board business at that time. Yeah, so, well, just let me finish opening the meeting. I make a motion to approve the to open the meeting to public discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, raise your hand if you want to speak. Come up, talk into the microphone. You're talking to us. You're not having a discussion with the audience members. Put your name and your street address or so, just so we can identify who talked on what subject.
Sure. Thank you very much. My
Okay.
name is Ron Kamen. I live at 110 Long Pond Road, right around the corner. Been there, my wife and I, for about 15 years.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So regarding this short-term rental, could you guys tell me, like, what's the impetus behind it? Why you guys are looking at doing this? I know you're in a review of all the codes, so that's one part of it. But beyond that, was there anything else that spurred the particular interest in some of the things that are in here?
Well, the way that our zoning enforcement officer has interpreted our zoning code is that if it is not included in the zoning code, then it would not be legal. So any short-term rentals occurring right now in the town of Clinton are happening illegally and that's the way it's interpreted, whether someone agrees with that or not, that's the way it's interpreted. So they're all operating illegally currently. On top of that, we have received many complaints via email from neighbors who want things, regulated in a way. We need to have some guardrails on this. So that was the impetus to start it, and we've been looking at it for several months, and this is where we are.
Great. So the impetus behind the residents asking for issues, was it because some people at Airbnb properties were having parties, they were being disrespectful, they were parking on their properties? Is that sort of...
Well, I mean, it ranges. There's a big range of complaints. That's certainly part of them.
Okay. And are these properties where the owners are not resident at the time? So it was both when they're there and while they're not there. And that's what's driving your guys thinking about this.
Yeah, and we think that, if the ZEO is getting complaints and saying that all of them are operating illegally, we think that we should probably have it in the code so that they're not all operating illegally, but they're operating under some set of regulations.
Okay. All right. I'm sure there's going to be some other
Just
people
so-
that have
just so
some
you know,
questions. Oh, please,
Regular
yeah.
B and Bs are legal. We're talking about absentee landlords. in this case, basically.
Short-term rental's not exactly absentee landlord.
No,
but-
don't have to be.
Well, that's true.
So
You're
if
right.
my wife and I.
Traditional B and Bs are permitted in the town,
Okay,
under certain regulations with a special use permit.
okay. This is public comments. You're supposed to be telling us your thoughts and comments. We're not to have a back and forth dialogue, okay? We had enough to give you the flavor of what's going on, but that's not the purpose of public comments.
I'm not allowed to ask questions, really?
You can ask, but you don't necessarily get answers.
Okay. So I guess what I would say then, in response to that, is I do have a couple comments on
Go ahead,
what I
that's
see
what we
here, but
want.
I haven't heard it. I was really kind of hoping to hear the presentation first to be able to comment on it, as I'm sure other folks might be as well, but that's okay, please, thank you. All right, so owners of, I'm sorry, on page 3, section 2, up top. Owners of short-term rentals that are occupied by a larger more than 5 separate rental periods per calendar year or more than 15 nights in the aggregate per calendar year must first obtain a special use from the planning board. I'm sorry, could you please explain that to me?
So, everyone that is operating a short-term rental would need to register with the zoning enforcement officer, but if you are renting out for more than 4 rental periods per year or an aggregate more than 15 days, I think it's been changed to 20, but then you would need to get the special use permit.
And the special permit, use permit has a cost associated with it?
Yes,
Is that cost specified anywhere?
not yet. We're gonna,
Okay, so you're gonna charge people to have the special use permit, and that's hopefully gonna be something reasonable. I guess that'll be part of the public comment period too, right? Thank you very much. Satisfactory proof that the septic system has been inspected. Who does the inspections, and who pays for the cost?
the owner would have to pay for it.
And who is a licensed inspector? Is that,
There are several companies in the area that do it.
so every 3 years you need to have it inspected, or just once?
No, it's not inspection, it was a pumping it every 3 years. I think that to get the permit, it's inspection, but you have to have it pumped every 3 years.
Okay, so to get the first permit, can you show that I had my septic in, here's my septic, it got inspected at the time, here's the Department of Health certificate, that's good enough?
I would think, yeah.
And then there's the every 3 years pumping that you want, here's the pumping certificate for what happened. Okay, thank you very much. There's a bunch of things in here, guys, that I personally, I'm not a lawyer, but there are going to be lawyers, I think, are paying attention to this, that really are unconstitutional according to a bunch of different people. But I'll let other folks comment on that. My understanding then is, and look, I totally understand and agree with the concept that you want people to respect their neighbors, to not have wild parties, whether they're there or not there. I agree with that concept. That's an excellent concept. Beyond that, when you start doing a lot more than that, so for instance, I have a flag lot property where on my property, I could have 100 people parking there and no one would ever know because it's a flag lot down and around. So to tell me I can't have people parking on my lawn, that's really going above and beyond sort of where I think you want to be as government, but that's my personal perspective. I'll open it up now for other people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next person, put a hand up. Okay, hop up.
My name is Jack Auspitz. I live on Fiddler's Bridge Road. Regarding the short-term rentals law, I approve of this law and support it. I just have a few mostly very technical points I wanted to make about it, because I'm a lawyer and I can't help it. My most important comment is in the definition of accessory dwelling unit, and where it refers to may not be located within the principal residence. In that context, principal should be spelled A-L and not L-E.
No.
That's the biggie.
The copy I have it was
In the
correct.
next paragraph defining dwelling, part of the definition just seems confusing to me. It says dwelling does not include camping vehicles, motels, hotels, so forth, or other structures designed for transient or temporary residence. Seems to me that if you built a building specifically to act as a short-term rental, that should be covered by the law, but you could argue that was just being built for transit. I think it's confusing, and instead of that phrase or other structures, you very well define camping structures, hotels, so we know what you're talking about. So if you just said, or similar structures, I think folks would get the idea. In number 6 on on page 5, it says the planning board shall have the discretion to amend the special use permit or deny renewal for good cause shown. Good cause can be kind of a loaded concept. There are a lot of cases that talk about what is or what is not good cause. So I would suggest that you amplify that just a little by adding after good cause shown, something like which may include consideration of noise, disorderly conduct, or neighbor complaints, just so that nobody can come along and say good cause only exists if it's struck by lightning. In number 6, it says an annual fee is going to be set. I would urge that that fee be substantial enough to cover the cost of enforcement. There are a lot of these, either existing or going to be requested in this town, and the enforcement cost is going to be substantial, and that cost should be borne by the people who are running these operations. So I think you really have to factor in a fair amount for enforcement here. On the events regulation, I am less happy with this, but I want to confine my comments to one thing in particular, because I don't want to take up too much time. In section E on page 3, it says access shall be from major or collector roads, and then it goes on to say the planning board may allow access from a road, which would be a town road, I assume, rather than a county or a state road, only if access from a major road is not feasible, and if it determines that access from a road will not create an unsafe traffic condition and there will be no adverse impact on the neighborhood. I think that any event space is going to have an adverse impact, just by definition. It's going to be noisy, it's going to involve lots of cars coming and going, supplier trucks, just by definition. And what we're, I hope, doing is trying to find something that works for the different communities and allowing it on major roads. But if you allow it, if you say I'll allow it on a minor road, on a town road, to me, any such event structure would involve a change to the neighborhood and a harm on the neighborhood. And I think it's easier just to cut that out and limit access to major or collector roads so that the law is very clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to pick up on that. I live on Mountain View Road.
Are your name, please?
Sorry, Eve Ashworth. Name?
Yep.
I live on Mountain View Road. This is my daughter, Harriet. We walk on that road all the time. We also walk up Schultz Hill with our dog, Toby. And there is a proposed wedding venue that's supposed to go in on Schultz Hill. And I'm very unhappy about it. I think that on the weekends, we're going to have people coming home on Saturday evenings and maybe Friday nights, drunk, driving up Schultz Hill. You know how windy that road is. You're going to have buses of people. You're allowing 200 people to come to the venue. You have buses of people traveling up there. And I feel as though it's unsafe. I also have 3 teenage boys, one of which is a driver, another who is a learning driver, and another that's going to be learning to drive in about 3 years' time. And I feel very badly for them that they're going to have to deal with all this traffic as a new driver coming up the hill. So I'm really displeased about that. And then I just had some issues with the amplified sound. I don't think you're going to have any way of controlling that. How are you going to control if the door's closed on a summer night? I mean, I hear the Amtrak train on Mountain View Road from Rhinecliff. I hear Amy Goldman's cows mooing from all the way down the road. I mean, it's just, I am going to hear noise, there's going to be noise pollution. I'm just completely opposed to this. And I feel as though it needs to only come from, if traffic comes in to a venue, it needs to come up a county road, not from Schultz Hill or anywhere else that, increases the terrible things that could potentially happen on our country roads. And it definitely will impact our lives.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Curtis, Ron's wife. I live at 110 Long Pond Road 2. The reason that we're doing Airbnb is pretty simple. It's so that we can survive and make ends meet. And I believe that this is true for probably, if not most people who are doing Airbnb. There's a lot of senior citizens who have started to do it just as a means to have some income. Taxes are high, everything is high. Costs are going skyrocketing all over the place. Incomes are not, cost of living has not kept up with any viable way of living in this county. So I want you to know that we're not like, this is not a huge money-making thing for most of us. For most of us, we're owner-occupied, we have people sleeping in our homes. We're lucky, we're close to Omega. Most of the people we have are coming from Omega. It tends to be a quiet bunch. If anything, we have to tiptoe around our house. I'm not worried about neighbors complaining about noise. It never happens. And this is also related to my concern about how much you would charge for the registration for this. I can't afford a whole bundle of money. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm not going to, it's not going to help pay my electric. It's not going to help with anything. So I ask that if this goes through, that you please take that into consideration. We're not rich people.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Thank you.
You mentioned that you're living in the house.
Yeah,
And you're renting out a room.
yeah, bedrooms.
So that would be a B&B, not an Airbnb. It's totally two different things.
No, well, we do it through Airbnb.
You could do it through Airbnb, but the definitions and the explanations kind of eliminate B&Bs versus Airbnb, which is supposed to be you're renting out the whole house and you're not staying there. And the concern was with the Airbnbs is that it's not being
not
regulated.
owner-occupied
It's
issue.
not owner-occupied. People aren't there to monitor the things that are going on. So in your case, I would think that you would be a B&B.
Exempt from this?
No, you'd be a B&B and still should go through the same process as being a B&B. So it's a whole different process. B&Bs are already legal in the town, but you're supposed to have a permit for it.
Can you guys look into this? Because it's not, this, the way
You
it's
just
the way
need to
it's
talk
written
to the
right
zoning
now,
administrator.
makes, okay.
You should make an appointment with the zoning administrator and discuss it, because it sounds like you're a B&B, not an Airbnb.
We don't do breakfast.
It doesn't
Don't
matter,
worry.
that's your choice. Okay.
Hello, my name is Philippa Wyland. I live on Hollow Road in Clinton Corners. I don't have any strong feelings about the B&B law, but I am very concerned about this events law. Two things jumped out at me. I can't say that I read it in exact fine detail, but 10 events per, this is on page 6, item T, 10 events per calendar year with over 50 attendees, with no more than 2 events per calendar year with over 50 attendees, or 30 events in total in any calendar year. The mind reels, frankly. We have, across the creek from us, there is I should think it's not in the town of Clinton, but I think it's a largely illegal drag racing event that happens once or twice a year. And they generate so much. I think the objective is to kind of melt the tires, and it comes across the creek, and it's deafening. And, that is an illegal, I realize that that's illegal, but who is there to say that something like that couldn't happen? At the same time, that seems like an excessive number of events that people would be allowed to have. The second thing is that if you go to page 7 and you get to item X, no event shall last longer than 4 days. That sounds absolutely hideous for the neighbours, for the traffic. it's an untenable experience for people who think they live in the country. And I object most strenuously to it. And I hope that you won't agree with the law in its present state. Thank you.
Thank you. And in the back there.
Name is Mark Forziati, 465 Schultzville Road, Clinton Corners. I know you're not supposed to be answering questions, but just if you could just give me the description between short-term rental, and if you go to page 3, it says owners of short-term rentals that are occupied by a larger or more than 5 separate rental periods or more than 15 nights in the aggregate must obtain a special use permit. If you rent a home for 3 months, do you still need a permit? Well,
No.
No, it's under
why is
30.
this saying owners of short-term rentals more than 15 nights in the aggregate must obtain a special use permit? Page 3.
Well,
Item number 2.
if you're renting a home for 3 months, that's not a short-term rental as per the,
But you're saying right here, of more than 15 nights in the aggregate per calendar year.
yes. So if you,
Are you, let's clarify, are you renting to one person for 3 months
Yes.
or multiple people? One person.
Well,
one
even-
person for 3 months from beginning to end,
And what if you rented for 31 days, 3 different people, 3 different months?
then that's not a short-term rental. Under the short-term rental definition, it's,
Okay, but again, it says, on page 3, it says more than 15 nights in the aggregate. I understand page 1, it says, it's defining short-term rental, but on page 3, short-term rental, more than 15 nights in the aggregate.
So what that is.
You gotta remove,
Okay.
okay, but
So-
shouldn't they remove the 15, shouldn't they remove the 15
This
nights?
is not an audience participation.
No, okay,
So-
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, and
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas was very helpful in writing some of this stuff, so he's trying to answer the questions, but it's not fair for the people at home that are watching TV. And Michael should answer it because Michael wrote it, but I think that the idea was that if a short-term rental by definition is less than 30 days or less. So in your particular case where you're talking about 3 months, you would not be classified as a short-term rental, so the rest of the document does not apply.
and so if you rented a place for 29 days, it would be a short-term rental, and your aggregate would be over the 15 or the 20 days. It's probably going to end up at 20 days.
Okay, someone else? Oh, yeah, back there.
Hi, good evening. Merida Wells from Allen Road, town of Clinton. I guess I'm struggling with the number of reports that somebody, I guess the zoning officer or zoning enforcement officer, is going to have to write. I believe I heard there were 52 bed and Airbnb-type establishments in the town of Clinton, and I think that means an annual 52 reports are going to have to be written and fees paid, and I'm kind of wondering who's going to do all of this, and if the number goes up, that's going to be a lot more work for that person, and who's going to enforce it? How does this get done? It just seems like, I agree with the premise that Airbnbs, VRBOs, all of these establishments do need to be monitored. I don't want people making noises and disturbing neighbors at all, but I'm just concerned about the practicality of having annual fees, annual inspections, and who's going to enforce it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, yeah, okay, there's somebody back there, I can't, oh, it's Philippa again. Yeah, no, that's okay, I just couldn't see who went with the hand.
Sorry, once again, Philippa Ewing, Philippa Wyland, Hollow Road, Clinton Corners. As far as I know, with other people friends who've done Airbnb, you have to, if you put your property up on an Airbnb website, very likely the next thing that happens is your insurance company comes around and says, are you correctly insured for this use? And I don't know whether the town would require under this law that there is adequate insurance, because otherwise you're creating an unsafe situation. And I'm sorry if I haven't read every.
Yeah, it's in the back of the
They
document.
do have to, everybody has to be correctly identified as safely insured.
Yes.
Because if somebody falls down their stairs, they're not going to be happy. So that's an additional expense, as well as the paying of fees. And if they don't, presumably the permit isn't issued, if they don't have that insurance.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Way in the back, the lady in the green. Oh, yeah, Fay.
I'm Ann Tyson, I live on Hampton Court. My concern about the short-term rentals is that I'm afraid a town of residents will become a town of investors quite quickly. It's already showing signs that that is the case with the proliferation of short-term rentals. I also have some concerns about enforcement. We have a 5-acre lot around the corner from us, and the people that own it are almost never there. They rent it, one unit for $2,000 a week, plus $300 cleaning fee. Which of course the cleaning lady doesn't get, but they are working on this 5-acre lot on 2 more buildings, an old barn and an old sort of little cottagey place, so that we will end up having 3 Airbnb rentals on a 5-acre property around the corner from us. There is no noise issue that I'm aware of, but there is a significant parking, driving, and garbage issue. That's it.
The law limits it currently to 1 permit per individual.
Yep.
So that individual would likely never get 3 for that property.
But that will not stop them, which is my concern about enforcement. Nothing will stop these people from doing exactly what they want to do. And traditionally, the town of Clinton has, shall we say, not been very effective in enforcing any of its regulations in my 30-year experience in the town, including truly egregious zoning violations on Willow Lane, incidentally. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I think another point is that 3 units would not be allowed anywhere in the town code anyway, so it wouldn't happen to that extent.
But it is happening right now.
Well, then that needs to be reported to the zoning administrator, because we can only handle things that are reported.
I try.
Anyone else? Okay, lady up front here.
Hi, I'm Denise Truz on 69 Deer Ridge Drive. I'm listening to what everybody has to say here, and I just want to say on my road there are 2 Airbnbs. One is owner-occupied, one is not. I'm closer to the one that is not owner-occupied, as well as my neighbor who is in the audience today and has spoken, Kimberly, and her husband Keith Punchar. There has been issues with garbage in the road. There is so much traffic on Deer Ridge Drive that did not exist 28 years ago. That's how long my husband and I have lived there. I had a woman walking around on my property that my husband said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I was just going for a walk down the road." Like, where are you and where are you? You know, our property's private. Nobody has the right to just come on our property, okay? We happen to be home. We saw it. My husband, Danny, asked her what she was doing. She wasn't doing anything wrong or whatever, per se, except walking around, which to me is an invasion of my privacy. And I wasn't happy about it. Plus, as living here 28 years, I know Ernestine, what the problem is with this events nonsense going on. If people can't raise enough money in an agricultural district selling agricultural products, why do they have to supplement their income having a wedding venue? Because what you're saying in this paperwork is they have to prove they're making $50,000. And if they can't, then they apply for the difference by offering in the venue. I don't understand that in an agricultural district. Since I've lived here, it was in the beginning, many years ago, it was 10,000, and you had to prove it was agricultural products, as my husband's cousin, Paul and Sherry, who've left the area, excuse me, Truz, they proved it by having a Christmas tree farm. Now suddenly, I'm sorry to say this to the other lady in the audience, she's saying, why does she have to pay fees for her B&B? Because she wants to have supplemental income. Okay, well now we have a liability issue. She doesn't want to pay fees, so who's going to pay the fees? Us taxpayers? I'm sorry, we pay a lot of taxes to live here. I'm on 10 acres of land, I'm a considerate neighbor. I don't think anybody should have to deal with this. I mean, especially because I've seen this rural area, over 28 years, I've seen a rural area continue to have more people. I'm sorry, I know you're from New York City, I don't want to, put you on the spot.
I grew up here, but thank you.
So, sorry, not to put you on the spot, but there are a lot of people coming up from the city and wanting to just use the property that it was intended for country use to suddenly open enterprises. We were zoned residential. We're having now commercial things in a residential area. I do have a problem with this. I really do. So that's what I'm going to say for now. Ray, we've been in discussion about this.
Yes. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, okay. We'll get to you.
Art, why don't you just
Art.
walk up and stand in line?
We'll get tickets next time.
Kim and Keith Puncher, probably most of you know at this point, Deer Ridge Drive. We've actually commented on this short-term rental. I guess I'll repeat myself to some degree and say again, I don't necessarily have an issue with an owner-occupied Airbnb because there's some accountability and that person lives in this town and that's a little more understandable to me. An owner-occupied Airbnb to me is unacceptable. You're in a residential AR5, residential agricultural district that is absolutely, I've said this before, commercial use. The people who come and rent Airbnbs are living a different lifestyle than those of us who really work hard and live in our homes and have to take care of our homes. We work during the day, we come home, you got to keep up with your laundry, your cleaning, and any other thing you got going on your property. People that come and rent Airbnbs, it's a perpetual vacation. They don't have any responsibilities because they're here on vacation, and they don't have any time constraints. They don't have to get to a job. They don't have to go to bed early either because they don't have to get up in the morning for a job. That is a conflict of interest with those of us who do pay a lot of money in taxes, have lived here a long time, 28, 20, 25, something like that. People have lived here a lot longer than us. I see some of the folks in the audience as well, or even the shorter term people who have come from the city to escape the chaos and the hecticness, to move into the country where it is peaceful and quiet. And we personally, as you guys know, and probably half the public at this point knows, have a problem with your purpose and objectives, which sound great on paper, right? To correct and prevent housing conditions that adversely affect or are likely to adversely affect the life, safety, general welfare, and health, including physical, mental, social well-being of persons occupying short-term rentals and neighboring properties. We have been subjected to an issue in this town, and I do want to point out that the town, we have filed an Article 78 lawsuit against the town. The town is now spending money fighting us so that they don't have to enforce their regulations when there are clear violations, and that's important for everyone to know. So, to minimize public safety risks and the noise, trash, parking problems often associated with short-term rentals without creating additional work for law enforcement. Again, law enforcement is not really effective in helping to enforce zoning laws, and neither are our zoning administrators, based on our experience for the past 4, going on 5 years at this point.
And for officers.
And officers, yeah. Aside from the lifestyle differences, there is an increased crime risk. There are a lot of rural properties, and there are a lot of areas where are actually more congested. So in the case of a rural property, what you have are these people that are, again, not owner-occupied facilities. They're advertising out on the big world web. You've got career criminals perusing. What you have is a schedule for when these estates are empty and vacant. Now, I'm not worried about the people as far as crime for who's actually renting the Airbnb. I'm sure they're decent people. They're out here for a good time because they want to get a little bit of taste of what those of us who live here full-time get to enjoy normally if you don't have nuisance neighbors. However, the problem is you get career criminals, and then you get to look on this website, and you can pinpoint on the map exactly where the location is. And nobody knows or is familiar with the cars that are entering or exiting these properties. So you don't know if that person's supposed to be there or not. And it puts your property at risk if you're the neighbor across the street, next to them, near them. Because if that criminal And again, maybe it won't happen. Hopefully it doesn't. I pray that it doesn't. But it could happen. It has happened. What if they see something on my property, on their property, on any of your properties that they're interested in, and you're working hard at work? Who's there to protect us? Clearly, zoning does not protect the residents because we've been longtime tax-paying residents and we've been denied protection under the town laws, which we're supposed to be protected under. So you guys really need to consider this. I'm fine with a non-owner occupied Airbnb in a commercial area because that would be expected in a commercially zoned area, not residential, not agricultural. And you guys have already proven that you cannot, or you're actually resistant to enforcing noise, odor laws. Even garbage cans that are left out 24/7, which Dean, I think, has commented there's supposed to be a property maintenance code. They're left out 24/7. On a scenic road, we've got ugly garbage cans that sit out there 7 days a week. You got convoys of cars going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. The traffic is insane. You got, as Denise Truss had said, you got strangers walking all around your neighborhood. I think one time they said they saw someone come onto my property for my farm road area. That's not appropriate. So you guys really, I don't know why you are pushing this so much. Owner occupied, fine, because that person has a vested interest in our town and the lifestyle. And again, you're supposed to be a good neighbor to each other. Unfortunately, there's a lot of generations coming up that really lost their consideration for people. So consider this. Now, you probably are going to force it through anyway because this is what the town tends to do. They let you say everything and then they do what they want anyway, and that's the current administration. However, let me just say, if you do push this through, as part of the special permit, you should absolutely require that there be public notice. And I don't care if you pick a half a mile, whatever, that doesn't really matter, but at least a minimum, the adjacent properties, they should be public notice. There should be a public comment period. And it should be posted, and people should get to comment, because again, we're the ones that are affected. We don't want commercial and residential. And I think I've seen those signs in other towns and communities. There's a reason there's so much opposition to it. So I might have more comments later, but that's it for
Okay,
now.
thank you. Art, you ready? Yeah.
Arthur Weiland, Hollow Road. In the previous version of this, the access to events, if I remember, was on state highways and county roads. Now it's major or collector roads. Are you defining major or collector roads somewhere else in our zoning?
Yeah, the town attorney said that that would be the proper term to use.
Do you mean county and state?
We had county and state, the town attorney changed it to collector and major.
Will that be in our zoning? That collector
He said it's
means-
already in the zoning.
I have never seen it, and I'm fairly familiar. I know you're changing definitions. Will the definition of a collector road be a state road?
If it's not there,
a
it will
county
be.
road?
Absolutely.
It'll be a county road, and a major road will be a state road?
Yep.
Okay. Some people have mentioned trespassing. I know with the events venue, that I don't know if the boundaries of the property that the events would be on would be marked for those people who might want to take a walk and end up on somebody else's property. Also, there seems to be, if I may take a moment, item T. I thought that conference centers were limited to 50 attendees.
No, that was the difference between kind of like a major event versus a minor event.
All right, I will have to reread it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Next, anyone else? Oh.
I have heard people talk about those of Clinton residents that do not live in the town of Clinton but occupy homes here, and I don't think it's been expressed to you that there are many people that have homes here that have invested millions of dollars in their homes and only come up on the weekends and do not rent them out, and are very displeased about the event law too. They do not expect to spend millions of dollars to come up here on the weekends and have Woodstock happening next door. So I just wanted to just let you know about that. That's the reason why I'm here tonight, is because my neighbour actually was the one that alerted me to this, but he is in LA this week and couldn't make it up here to his weekend house, which is next door to mine. So just take that into consideration as well.
Okay, we all done? Now, you realize, whenever this gets made into local law, it's put on the table in its final form, whatever that'll be. Then it gets a 30-day period for people to look and comment and all. Then we have a public hearing for comments. Then the board can change any of the words along the way as a result of the public comments, and then we can approve or not approve it. So this is not the only chance you have to say something, and if you still have further thoughts, you can always email them to Dean, and he can then distribute them to the rest of us. So this is not a once-in-a-lifetime comment period.
What's his email?
It's on the website, and if it's an event thing, you can email me. If it's a short-term rental, you can email Michael.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your name's Dean?
Dean Michael.
I'm Dean Michael. That's Michael Witten.
That's Michael Witten, yeah.
Who's on first?
Okay, so I make a motion then to return to regular order of business. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now we're into the agenda thing. Okay, at this point, I have supervisor comments. These don't routinely fit into some major action items, but I still give them to keep the community informed as to what's going on. The Dutchess County Transportation Council did their evaluation during July 24 and 25th of Slate Quarry / Bull's Head Road accidents and road conditions. This change was requested due to more than 40 acts occurring in the study area of the road from Amyville to Mile and Hollow roads. Preliminary draft findings of safety issues are vehicle operating speeds, wet weather crashes, improved traffic signage, side roads and road shoulders, major intersections improvements, and adding more guide rails. Their draft report will be available for committee comments in the fall of this year. So it's just a first pass rough draft with a lot of administrative errors in it that got to be corrected. The tentative budget workshops occur on Thursday, October 3rd for the highway portion of the budget, and on Thursday, October 10th for the general fund part of the budget. Both workshops start at 7 p.m. in the town hall right here. The public is encouraged to attend and make comments on the budget items. The changes made during the workshops will be reflected in the preliminary budget. For other budget meetings, go to the town webpage for details, because there's too many of them. I'm not going to go through them all, but I just wanted you to hit, those are the two big ones that most people get involved with. A meeting was held with the Masons and the library to discuss the renovation of the kitchen area. The Masons were considering paying for the replacement of the electric stove and the refrigerator. There was discussion on adding a dishwasher and replacing the existing counter cabinets. A community survey was considered for possible future users of the kitchen and having a fundraiser dinner to cover these costs. The library has a concern for a few years for the quality of the tile floor in the kitchen, meeting room, and hall, where tiles keep coming up at their edges and causing tripping hazards. This will be a major expense, so I'm considering placing it in the 2020 town budget. The floor replacement should be done before the counter cabinet work is undertaken. So those are my comments. Now we go into reports, and you'll see them all. Planning Board.
Planning Board met on August 20th. There were 4 items on the agenda. A variance application on Mountain View Road to build a house and a pool within 50 feet of the rear yard property line, whereas the requirement is 75 feet. So there was a variance needed, and the Planning Board gave a positive recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals. An ongoing application for a bed and breakfast on Hollow Road. There's a public hearing attended by a number of the neighbors. People living in the immediate proximity are concerned about traffic. Hollow Road, of course, is a busy road, and that's a particularly dangerous stretch of Hollow Road. Parking being problematic. Also concerned about owner's application for a license to serve alcohol. Planning board decided to keep the public hearing open and asked the applicant to come in with a revised plan specifically for different parking arrangements. So that'll be back up for another meeting. An applicant on German Road applying for a site plan special permit to build an accessory dwelling over a detached garage, a one-bedroom apartment, that was approved. And an applicant on Maple Lane wanting to do owns two contiguous properties, wanting to do a lot line adjustment between the two. Quite a lengthy discussion because the two lots are non-conforming. They're pre-existing, but they are non-conforming, and the planning board decided after much discussion that they would need to come back with a request for specific variances. Second meeting on September 3rd, the Maple Lane applicant came back with an application for variances that received a neutral recommendation, referred to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and a gentleman on Mountain View Road wanting to demolish an old house that had been partially destroyed by a fire, felt that the house is not salvageable, and the planning board approved the demolition plan. End of report.
Thank you. Next one is Zoning Board of Appeals.
ZBA met on August 22nd. There were two items on the agenda. An applicant on 4th Avenue wanting to build an addition onto her house to house an elderly relative on a very, very small lot, as they typically are in that district. And 4 variances actually required: side yard setback, three variances: front yard setback, as well as the percentage of building coverage on the lot. The ZBA, after considerable discussion, approved the requested variances and granted them to the applicant. Second action was the gentleman I mentioned a minute ago on Mountain View Road, who had applied for a variance to build a new house with a reduction from 75 feet to 50 feet for the rear yard setback. Public hearing attracted quite a few neighbors came, concerned about the location of the house, the water runoff, erosion, drainage, septic concerns, impact on the neighborhood, and so on. The ZBA decided not to take any action, but it left the public hearing open for further discussion. End of report.
Thank you. Next one, CAC, Conservation Advisory Committee.
The CAC hasn't met since our last meeting, so no report.
Recreation Committee.
The Recreation Committee did not formally meet. However, we have been working on the budget for next year, as well as some changes to the recreation structure. We will have a report in October, which will summarize the season's activities in the park, as well as the camps that were run. And I will say that the camps were a very, very big success this year. Our participation was up, and we've got some really good comments. So all of those reports will be in October. End of report.
Okay, thank you. Building Inspector.
Building Inspector, during this period, he issued 16 permits, issued 12 COs and CCs. The number of title searches were 5. The number of miles that he logged in this period were 227. The construction costs that involved in all these statistics is $651,565. And I'll just highlight two of the things that are involved in that. There's a $400,000, a new residence on 2325 Salt Point Turnpike. And there's also a garage carport, which is going to be on 368 Browning Road for the total of $69,500. End of report.
Thank you. Zoning Administrator?
Okay, board voted our last meeting to offer the temporary position to Louis Fiorizzi, who is a current building inspector, so he will be wearing both hats for the next few months. But Louis has hit the ground running in the month of August. He took over on August 16th and inherited a number of issues that have been in the works, under discussion, under investigation, and so on with the previous CEO. Just to quickly run through the issues that he's been working on. Open construction permits, multiple sheds, animals, waste at 83 Deer Ridge Drive, denied entry by owner, referred to the town attorney to be continued. Also on Deer Ridge, 92 and 84, debris removal, storage shed relocated, lighting redirected, requiring field verification. 1076 Hollow Road, multiple unregistered vehicles, served a notice by certified mail, but the violation remains to be continued. 302 Pumpkin Lane, also to be continued. Animal waste, smell of storage container, Mountain View Road, miscellaneous violations, dog breeding, undocumented second dwelling, accessory structures without proper setbacks, also under investigation. Hollow Road, trash in the yard, under investigation, again on Hollow Road. Miscellaneous violations, including a different location on Hollow Road, including junk in the yard, unregistered vehicles, and a possible undocumented accessory dwelling. A closed issue on Shablo Lane. Also a closed issue on Falk Hill Road. A closed issue having to do with a sawmill on Schultz Hill Road. And a closed issue having to do with the old Naylor Farm, the Dutchess Conference Center on Route 9G. So those are the complaints that he inherited from the previous CEO, and in terms of new ones that have come in since he took office, on Parkview, complaint having to do with trail bike 50 feet from dwelling, whereas a 500 feet minimum is required. On East Cookingham, a complaint about a fence and play area within a front yard. It's supposed to be in the side or the rear yard, also under investigation. Some complaints about lawn maintenance, people storing their material in their front yards, and also on Maple Lane, contractors' equipment being stored on site. All of these issues are being investigated. And just FYI, there an event evidently on Mountain View Road, had 100 people in attendance, went on for 3 days. It was a family outdoor film festival, not a public event, and so no complaint was received. So a busy month for our zoning administrator. That's the end of the report.
Okay, thank you. Highway.
During that period, highway crew cleaned up debris from the storm damage on Browns Pond Road, Schoolhouse Road, Rusky Lane, and several other roads in the town. The York raked dirt roads in Schultzville, Breezy Hill, and Schoolhouse. They replaced the culvert pipe on Falk Hill Road. They fixed the washout on Field Road, German Road, and Kansas Road. And with all the rain, we've had a lot of problems with washouts. I was over some of the roads myself, and they're like washboards. So they're trying to keep up with that. Roadside mowing continues and dirt patching is ongoing. End of report.
Thank you. Scenic and Historic Roads Advisory Committee?
No activity,
Okay.
so there was no meeting this month.
Library report?
The library trustees met last night. Carol Bancroft announced that Jenny Chin has been hired as the new programming director to replace her when she became the director. And additionally, Eric is back to manning the circulation desk. He's been missing for a few months, but we're happy to have him back. On September 21st, the library is holding their annual community tag and book sale, and from 11 to 1 on that day, there's also a Touch a Truck event. Vehicles and representatives from East and West Clinton Fire Departments, New York State Troopers, Dutchess County Sheriff's Department, and the Town Highway Department will be on hand. It's a lot of fun for kids and families. And I'm told, although I don't see them yet, that a library trustee will be here tonight to give an update on library events. End of report.
Okay. Altice, formerly Cablevision?
Well, we made it through the Great Northeast Blackout of 2019 with Optimum, even though it happened during a Yankees-Red Sox game. Altice has stated that the outage was power-related, and they are investigating further. There's no additional details that have been provided. With that in mind, I'm sure we're pleased that we got a communication from them on August 26th, telling us that effective September 19th, Optimum Gold package will be discontinued and replaced with Optimum Premier, and effective September 23rd, the fee for the new Optimum Premier packages will increase $5 to $109.95. End of report.
Okay, thank you. Zoning revision?
So we had our meeting last Thursday on 9/5, in which we tackled 258, 61, 61.2, and 66. Our next meeting is on the 19th, which is next Thursday, not this week, in which we will be talking about 61A, which is now going to be 61.1, 66, 70, and 72. End of the report.
Okay. Just as a point of information, you can see these zoning revision comments on the web page. They're identified there, so if you want to study in advance, it's not easy, but you can read them.
As well as the
results.
The comments in the notes, and also the webpage link to where our YouTube channel is, so you can watch the live version instead of having to read it.
Okay. Proposed transmission lines, that's me. The New York State ISO Independent System Operator has approved Transco's project on April 8th, 2019 to transport 2,100 megawatts of electricity. This is for the transmission line going from Albany to Pleasant Valley through Clinton, that is east of Center Road. In other words, it's on the other side, the church and that area. Transco is working on completing their design work for preparation for the Article 7 proceedings this fall. They are also continuing to do site inspections and boring within their power line right-of-way. Transco workshops are scheduled for Friday, September 20th at the Pleasant Valley Firehouse at 2 times, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 4 to 7 p.m. And Saturday, October 5th at Milan Town Hall at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm trying to get a workshop here, but I haven't been able to confirm it yet. There will be no power line workshop directly following this town board meeting tonight. Cemeteries.
The repairs were done over at the Schultzville Union Cemetery. The 3 stones that were in disrepair. Cole Rockley came out a couple of weeks ago. We have a couple of burials coming up over the course of the next week or two. I was over at the Pleasant Plains Cemetery a few days ago, walking around, and noticed that there are quite a few stones there that are in pretty bad shape, falling over or have fallen over. So what I'm going to do is walk over there one of these days with a clipboard and put together a list and talk to call Rockley and see what's involved in the repair. I think it's something we need to do, and find out how much money we're talking about. We still do have quite a bit of money in the maintenance fund that came over from the, when we acquired the cemeteries. But I really think we need to bring these things up to speed and make up for years of not having been attended to. Other than that, we're still looking for people to be on a committee, if anybody's interested. But people have not been rising to the occasion here, so.
Okay. Next one is WIC.
So the Wappinger Creek Watershed Intermunicipal Council has not met since our last meeting, but Sean Carroll tried to arrange coming here to speak to us tonight, and it didn't work out, so he sent me something this afternoon that I'm going to read. So the WIC has been working on what they're calling the 9-element plan for the watershed, and they can explain it much better than I if you attend this event. As the second of the 2 public hearings for the Wappinger Creek 9-element watershed management plan process, this meeting invites local municipal officials, community members, residents, and other stakeholders to come learn about the latest updates regarding the watershed management plan, water quality improvement recommendations and strategies, and potential implementation projects. There will be a dedicated portion of the evening for public comment and a question and answer session with the presenters. All comments and suggestions will be considered for inclusion into the final watershed management plan. Light refreshments will be served. Presenters will be Mayor Matt Alexander of the Village of Wappinger Falls, Vijay Epakayala of KC Engineering, and Sean Carroll from the Cornell Cooperative Extension. The meeting is Tuesday, October 8th, unfortunately during our next meeting. It's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Farm and Home Center in Millbrook on Route 44. I'm going to pass this on to members of the CAC, so hopefully a representative from the town can be there.
Send it to me too, so I can put it in the newspaper.
Yeah. And there's more information about the plan that I can send you as well.
This WIC is dedicated to the Wappingers Creek. That's a little creek that goes behind us here through the town, all the way down to Salt Point. That's the creek that we're talking about.
And they're dedicated to the watershed, so it's
Yeah.
anything that leads into the creek as well.
Okay, anybody else have any other reports they wish to make at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll jump into the events law. Michael?
It's this
Elliot?
Michael.
The other Michael.
Oh, that Michael.
It just says Michael, so
Who's passed the buck on this one?
I never know which one is which.
So obviously, we've been going around with this for quite some time. We had a subcommittee that put together some ideas. We came back to the town board. The town board made some changes. I sent out for comment to the agricultural markets and Dutchess County Planning. The product that's here does not even take into consideration what the county planning is, because they were really just giving us a heads up of what their idea would be. They won't do anything until we put this as an official document, and then they'll make their comment, and they have the 30 days to do that. Both the ag markets and county planning have both expressed that they feel that this is overly restrictive, as much to everybody's dismay, and feel that we are probably overstepping our grounds by even regulating half of this stuff. So, I'm kind of at a loss of words, because nobody's going to be happy, no matter what we do. We can only try to come as close as possible to limit the concerns that everybody's expressed, while still preserving the rights of those that have a right to do this. And so definition of farm by the town code is $1,000 of revenue, and the state's is $10,000, and even that 50,000 is 5 times more than that. So we've probably exceeded even that number of what they already said that they didn't like that number as it was. So it sounds like if someone wanted to push back even on this document, that we would probably lose to ag markets.
It's actually much less restrictive than what we started at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so Shane had taken the comments that ag markets had come up with and modified what we had agreed upon, and obviously softened on some of those things and changed the word to, as Art was bringing up, the connectors and so on. So, it is, I think at this point, I think we're beating a dead horse of sorts, and...
I got some comments as usual.
Well, I mean, the document that we're putting out for today would be then subject to a public hearing, again, which we could certainly change things. Also, county planning would then have the opportunity to come back and change things. And so if we move forward with this, it's not the end of the day. It's just the beginning of the clock of sorts. So it would open it up to a public hearing that we would set for next month. And it would give everybody an opportunity to read this current document and make corrections, changes, and so on. So even next month at the public hearing, if it's significant changes, it could be postponed for another month. So that's the report. So you have comments?
Yeah. The first one is very simple. The second line on the first page, conference center, is spelled wrong. Yes.
Yes, it is.
I do read these things. I still think that in double I, where you have the 50,000, I think that's still an onerous number. It almost begs to be a full commercial kind of operation, like a pig farm, a cattle raising thing, hundreds of chickens kind of thing, because $50,000 gross is hard to achieve. I mean, I've raised sheep, I've made hay, I've been in the farming business. That's not an easy, trivial number to meet.
Well,
So
again,
I'm just saying it's very restrictive.
I understand, and it's kind of meant to be that way, but at the same time...
So nobody can do it.
Well, again, it's meant to be restrictive to try to limit who can do it, but if you are subject to 305 AA, you would have that first section that would exempt you.
I just pointed. The other one, under event, you say professionally organized.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
What's professionally organized?
Yeah, we already talked about that, and...
I don't know, is a certified person, do I say I'm a professional? I don't know. To me, I think that's lacking. And then it appears many times throughout the document. I'll just cite page 2, C, in the middle there, it says, second line, event venue shall be built within 200 feet of any road or property line. Where on the road are you measuring? Typically, it's the center line of the road if you're doing a planning or zoning type of thing, but this one, I don't know. I can't assume because I don't know what you mean. And it appears several places, so I'm just going to cite that once.
So we can put edge of the road surface, or you can put the center, but if the center only applies to user roads, doesn't it?
No, it applies to any road.
All right, so the center line of the road.
Okay, I'm just saying, it can be 20, 30 feet or 15 feet difference, and it's pretty significant there. Now we come on D. In the second line, you have 200 feet there. And if you go back to, what the heck's it? Page 6, on U, it says 500 feet. Well, which is it, 200 or 400, or 500?
Page 6, what number?
Page 6, U, at the very,
Page
sort of the
6,
last
U,
sentence.
500 feet.
Says 500 feet.
So the boundaries of the event area versus the other one is talking about the parking area.
Yeah. Okay, they're dramatically different.
And it's talking about a building shall not be built within 200 feet.
And you said you're going to define major and collector roads, good. Set forth in the uniform code. What's the uniform code?
Building code.
Then why don't you say uniform building code?
Sure. Where was that?
That's top of page 3E, sort of the third line from the bottom of that paragraph. And then F, the last sentence there again, no case exceed 200 people. Still, we say 500 for the town.
Well, the town 500 is the, when
Mass.
the mass gathering
Right.
law kicks in.
Yeah, I don't know, I think 200, but I don't run these events, so I don't know if 200 is a good number or a bad number. It seems to be on the low side to me, but that's
Well,
my opinion. I know we talked about it.
Well, not only did we talk about it, but we talked to the event venues, and they said that the 200 number was selected, number one, because they didn't expect to exceed that, but also they didn't want to wear down their property.
Mm-hmm.
And that they felt that having too many people, by having too many events or having too many people, would wear down their property. So that's where that number came from.
Yeah, and then I, that's in the same page 3. When you say the last sentence, the applicant shall submit an exterior lighting plan for the conference center or agricultural event designed to minimize infiltration or impact of light on the neighborhood. Is that done for each event, or is that done for just the permanent lighting?
I think that's part of the permit process. So in their permit process, they're getting one-time permit, so the lighting would be for that
For the
particular...
permanent lighting.
For that permanent lighting.
Yeah,
Now, if
okay.
they were going to put up a accessory structure, then they would be subject to a new permit, and then also have to comply to that.
It just wasn't clear. I just want to be sure I understood that one. And let's see. Yeah, on page 4 under M, and this alludes to many discussions that people had. With all the inspections the building inspector or the zoning administrator's got to do, I think we're approaching full-time positions at this point, based on just the requirements of this law and the other one, just looking at all the different things that have to be done. So that's going to be a significant change in the budget situation. So I'm just making comment that people understand that. Okay, then on page 5, under O, it says require renewal, et cetera. What special use permit form? I've never seen one associated with this. Does the current special permit form provide adequate information, if it's properly filled, to meet the requirements of what you want here? Because it normally doesn't say how many people.
We had talked about using the general form and in addition, a checklist
Okay, so you got to
of
put,
specific items that should go into a site plan
okay, so
to
then,
accompany the general form.
so that should be attached to this thing.
Well, I think the building inspector or the zoning administrator would create their own,
Well, I had actually spoken with the previous buildings CEO about doing that, but life got in the way, and it hasn't been done. But, I mean, it's a fairly straightforward kind of thing.
Oh, I understand, but I'm just saying it doesn't exist, so We just want to be sure it's covered. I mean, it's part of the law is what you're doing, really.
Well, can it be done during the period, since we have 30 days before the next, it's not going to change.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm just saying, I don't see
I
it.
could sit down with Louis and come up with a list.
Whatever, yeah.
Fine.
Then add it to the pile.
Fine, okay, yeah.
Okay. Then we got in to on page 6, T, the little I and the double little I's. 10 events per calendar year, et cetera, over 50 or 30 events total in any calendar year. And I guess people are happy with that. I have no feel for that. You know, you talked with the...
No, some people are unhappy with that, so it's just,
Yeah,
again, we lowered it. It was more at one point in time, and it was actually a 3-stage thing. We try to simplify it, that the number of big events would be a smaller number, but
Yeah.
the total would still allow for small events to proceed. You know, many of, more to the Duchess, but many of their events are usually small groups, a dozen or so, that meet within the building. So it's something that would have very little impact, and their access comes off of 9G and on their own, per se, private road, so their impact is very little to anybody.
Most people don't even know where it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I found it someplace, and I just couldn't see where it is now. There was a statement saying that all sound equipment must be in a building with windows and doors closed. Can't have it in a tent, you can't have it on a stage outside or anything else on the events law. I just forget. I remember seeing it, I just don't remember where it appears, but it does. That seems to be fairly
Restrictive.
restrictive, almost difficult to maintain, because if you got a hot day, you want the windows open and the fans blowing the air through the big buildings, unless you're going to spend thousands of dollars to put air conditioning in these buildings to keep them cool.
Yep.
Sound is sound.
Yeah, well, I know sound is sound, but I'm just saying it's a very severe requirement
Right.
on the people.
Page 4, letter J
Is it, okay.
at the top.
Oh, yeah, I did have a circle, I missed it, yeah. Now, I just think that that's going to be very difficult. Again, that requires more inspections.
Again, if we have a law, then the zoning administrator can enforce the law. And if it's a sound noise thing, then a permit can be revoked or not renewed because of multiple
Right.
violations. The concern with the two, being Adrian's Farm and the Duchess, was that they wanted to be good neighbors and good stewards, and they want to be notified if they're doing something wrong, because they want to remedy a problem. But again, for those that don't care, this would give us an opportunity to revoke any permits for violating of noise or being not good neighbors.
So, those are my comments.
Any other comments?
Yeah, let me jump in with a couple things.
Sure.
One issue we've already talked about, so there's no sense in belaboring it, and this was the issue that Jack Auspitz raised about access. But the board's already been through that. But another issue came up, actually, it was a Robert Maripodi suggestion. And in the section on page 7 where it talks about letter G, requirements shall not apply to the following. There should, he strongly advised that there be a mechanism, and it say in here very clearly, that the zoning officer can request documentation in an effort to ascertain whether something is for personal use or not. Because right now, there is no way of documenting that. And an applicant or somebody who's having an event, rather not an applicant, can simply say it's for personal use, and that makes them exempt. So, actually, I came up with some suggested wording as to how that could be qualified so that the zoning officer has the right to ask for, he doesn't have to ask for documentation, but he can ask for documentation if he has any doubt or suspicion that in fact an event is not for personal use. And it is just, it's just something that the owner is saying to avoid having to deal with the regulations.
So
I can read
you said
what I-
G, but I didn't see it in G.
Z.
Yeah, here's what I
Z.
came up with, section Z, I'm sorry, section Z.
Okay.
Yes, section Z. Yeah, my mistake.
So do you want to read what you have?
I'd be glad to. Roman numeral,
Would it be 4?
no, actually, well, I added it to 2, Roman numeral 2,
Okay.
where it talks about events held by a charitable organization, and so on and so on and so on. And then it goes on to say, in the next to last line, or the third to last line, rather, for the owners or tenants' personal purposes, okay, that's already there, provided in the latter case that and I can give this to you so you don't have to write it out, on request, the owner or tenant provides satisfactory documentation to the zoning administrator X days prior to the event, to be filled in by the board. And B, no compensation is paid to the owner or tenant. So that would remain. So the only part being added would be
Proof of documentation.
right, that on request of the zoning administrator, more specifically, the owner or tenant provides satisfactory documentation to the zoning administrator X days prior to the event, whatever X days is, 7 days, 5 days, 10 days, we can fill in the number.
So what would be satisfactory documentation that I'm going to have an event for myself?
Well, what would be satisfactory documentation?
No.
No.
What did she say?
She wants to talk, but I said no.
Oh. Well, what would be I wrestled with that for quite a while,
That's the issue, because
and I came up empty, which is why I left it the way it is. Vague as it might be.
You could get a notarized document
I mean, you could conceivably.
saying that,
I mean, a notarized statement, which would be,
or you give them a form that they fill out or sign or whatever.
say that, to my knowledge, this, to the best of my knowledge, the information is true and correct, or whatever the terminology is. And then if it turns out somehow that the information is not true and correct, the person has violated the law, and then penalties would have to enter in some fashion.
You can make a sort of generic letter leaving out, the location, the person's name, and have them
I mean,
specify.
At some level, we have to take it on faith.
Well,
But,
I'm just saying.
right,
that's a
but
way
we
of
have to
doing
take a lot of things on faith in terms
but
of
this is
zoning.
already saying for personal purpose, and we're saying that it didn't have enough teeth, but you're just adding another word that didn't add any extra teeth. I mean,
Well, I mean, what it means basically is that the zoning administrator I guess what it means in practice is that the zoning administrator could ask the applicant specific questions about what he or she is planning to do.
why can't he do now?
Well, he can, but this makes it more clear that he or she is within the prerogative of doing that, as opposed to simply being intrusive or, prying into somebody's personal business. This gives them the right to say, tell me what it is you're planning to do, very specifically what you're planning to do, not just come in here and say, this is a personal thing for my family, and walk out the door.
I just don't know how that one sentence is going to change anything.
I think it will put people on notice, and the issue is really, to my way of thinking, is similar to what we talked about in terms of, and the issue that Jack raised about the question of access. If somebody is determined to circumvent the law, obviously they're going to circumvent the law. But if there is something here that clearly indicates what they're expected to do or required to do, that would be a deterrent for some people to circumvent the law.
I mean, so, I'm just kind of confused as to, if you're not having multiple events, I mean, if you're having multiple events and they're for your own purpose, I think that's kind of just as disturbing as any other event. I mean, so I don't think we're talking about, in your particular case, trying to prove that it's non-monetary per se, as to the fact that someone's having a whole bunch of events all the time. Bless you. You know, so, I mean, just putting a simple word, you know, that the zoning administrator may ask for a notarized letter or something to the effect, but I still don't see how it's gonna, how is he gonna prove it and enforce it?
I think if you ask somebody to sign a notarized letter, I think that will discourage people from trying, as I said before, from trying to circumvent the law and encourage them to follow the intent of the law. If someone has to sign something and it's notarized, and they are signed by having that notary, or filling out that form, or having that form notarized, they are swearing that this is true. To the best of my knowledge, this is true. For most people, not for everybody, of course, but for most people, that's a significant statement, and people will think twice before they try to do something underhanded.
So then why don't we just make it a requirement period on all applications that a notarized letter saying that it's for personal use?
That's fine. I mean, that's fine, sure. You can do that.
I don't think it'll change much, but as you
Yeah,
said,
no, I think-
the average person is going to be honest enough to
Yes.
say whatever, and
Yes, I think just having it is, yes, I agree. No,
I don't think it's a big burden
No.
for anybody to accomplish, so if you want to email me that,
Okay.
I'll attach it too, and
Okay.
and
Well, I'll have to
if
check.
everybody else agrees to that, I mean, yeah.
I'll change what I did here and come up with something. And I will sit down with Louis and put together something by way of a checklist, yeah, because actually the original version of this law, way back when, had a long list of items that had to be included in the site plan, which are no longer in here.
Sure.
But we can simply go back, take that list, put it into a separate form. So we'll do that. Okay.
I have one comment too. I've had several people talk to me about the concerns, which you've kind of raised already, as to the ability for the zoning administrator, who is almost overwhelmed now, to be able to handle all this in the event that it's passed and whatever. So I know this is something we need to talk about later. It's not just a budget item, it's simply a staffing item to have somebody be able to address this. So I just wanted to voice the concern that several people have brought up. They're not particularly happy with the situation as it stands now in the community, with several zoning laws being violated. This will just compound that. So I wanted to go on record as speaking for them.
So I've been thinking on that a lot, because obviously it's come up with the short-term rentals as well. If we do nothing, these event venues, short-term rentals, all remain illegal, and the zoning enforcement officer is pretty busy trying to stop them. And we're not bringing in any fees for anybody applying for a permit that would help pay for that zoning enforcement officer. So I understand that we say that we're creating work for the zoning enforcement officer, but we're also helping to create some revenue to pay for the zoning enforcement officer, where the work would be there anyway. And
that's valid.
Yeah.
But I don't think any one person is going to be able to do all
yeah,
of
that's a
this.
discussion we need to have, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the long-term solution, we've already talked about increasing hours or even hiring an additional part-time, maybe go between planning and zoning, or building and zoning, so.
Okay.
So, that being said, I make a motion, be it resolved, the town board approves resolution of 2019 entitled Event Law. The town of Clinton will hold a public hearing on said proposed law Tuesday, October 8th, in the Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Rhinebeck, town of Clinton, New York, at 6 PM. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion. My comment is, what document is going to be used for the public to review? The one that exists just like it is now, or is it going to be a modified one?
Well, you made 4 or 5 comments that all change, and
And
Elliot
he
made
made
one
one.
comment that he's going to send me, and I'll attach, and by the end of this week, I'll have it.
You'll include them in the document?
I'll include it in the document.
That's what I need to know. So it'll be a revised version of this?
Exactly.
Is what's going to be?
As was discussed tonight.
Do you want to have the checklist for that document, or can that come later, since it's just basically an administrative thing?
I think it could come later personally, because it's not the law, but
No, okay, all right.
You get a vote. So you have
Okay.
to vote on it.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Motion
again,
passed.
To have a
for-
public hearing.
To have a public hearing. It's not the law yet. Okay. Now, we go into a little different version. It's the short-term rental, which is not a local law, it's a proposed law, and that will be discussed now.
So I want to thank everybody for all their comments tonight. This was an issue that obviously has been going on throughout the town. It's changing a little bit of the nature of the town, as has been mentioned. You know, this town changes constantly, and trying to stop change is like trying to hold back the tide at this point. It's going to change whether we make laws about it or not. So we're trying to put some regulations in place to control some of the activities. That being said, I was going to mention that what we've just talked about, that if we ban these things completely, then our ZEO is going to be pretty busy trying to stop that. So the first question I guess I have is, I've been working on this for a couple of months. I've been including all of the planning board, the zoning board, a lot of residents who have asked to be included on drafts, and I've been getting multiple comments and making revisions. But, and this is no knock on anybody, I know we're all busy, but I haven't received a single comment from a member of the board. And we're the ones that are going to vote on it. So, one thing we hear a lot is that some people want it to be owner-occupied. And I want to get a sense of the board to know if that's a change that I should make, because I don't want to not do it and then have this thing get voted down. My problem with the owner-occupation, and I understand why people want it, but the problem with it is that it will, first of all, create a whole lot of people that are in violation, and we'll have a zoning enforcement officer chasing that down left and right. And it will force people to sell their homes, which I don't know if that's necessarily our goal here. I did put provisions in there to try and limit it so that it couldn't be investors buying multiple properties. You have only one, an individual can only get one permit in the town, so they can only have one property. But currently, owner occupation is not on there, and I just sort of wanted a sense of the board for that before I move forward with leaving it that way.
I was under the impression that Airbnbs, by their very nature, are not owner-occupied. Is that right, or not?
It can be both. I've stayed at an Airbnb that was like a basement apartment, and they lived upstairs. I've stayed at ones that it was a house.
So what would differentiate an Airbnb from a traditional B&B?
So one of my comments, and
Yeah, we're going to get to that too.
I apologize, but, you know, in that short-term rental, one of my comment was to take out the words Airbnb and all those things, because I think it complicates what a short-term rental is. And just leave it at what the definition is. It doesn't matter what venue you use to rent it, because that is part of the confusion as to whether it's a B&B or an Airbnb.
So they do not have to be they can be owner-occupied.
They can be owner-occupied.
So
They can be owner-occupied.
while we're talking about definitions too, I get a lot of comments regarding the accessory dwelling unit definition and the dwelling definition. I have made it in this current version that they are the exact definition that is currently in our zoning code. I have not changed those definitions. Because if we change those definitions, it's going to affect much more than just the short-term rentals law.
Sure.
Now, in our zoning revision, there have been changes to those definitions. I'm using the ones that are currently on the books. So if our zoning revision goes through, then those definitions will change. But I'm using the ones that are currently on the books. And along those lines, since we had the public comment, I'll add Ian Schrank's comment about the definitions. Well, for accessory dwelling unit, I'm using what's on the books, but he wanted to know, what does subordinate mean in this context? Does it mean just smaller? And if that is the case, then we should just say so. But under
I don't think it means subordinate so much as secondary.
secondary, yeah.
Yeah, secondary.
That's a better choice.
Yeah, but I didn't want to change it because I don't.
But if an short-term rental can be owner occupied,
Then it's an Airbnb. I mean,
So this is
the
gonna
B&B.
lead-
why do we even have B&Bs anymore?
So this is going to lead to Ian's second comment, which is definitions are unclear how to distinguish a B&B and a hotel from a short-term rental. If we require a B&B to serve meals, and that's where I think the difference is that a B&B is allowed to serve meals. They aren't required to, but I think they're allowed to, whereas Airbnbs, that's not part of the.
But they could too. I mean, if it's allowed rather than.
Well, if they are, then they have to go get the health department inspection, and it becomes a B&B. He's also saying if we required a B&B to serve meals and a short-term rental to have no more than 2 units, with a hotel requiring more than 2 units, that would distinguish them. He says it's important, or else 2 sets of regulations will apply to many of these places.
Exactly. These distinctions are getting pretty esoteric.
So based on some of the comments tonight, and basically the idea of what many people have expressed, I don't think we want 2 units even on the same property being short-term rental.
Yeah, now, when we say unit, and this is another comment I've been getting from a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, who seems to be confusing units with the number of bedrooms.
If you're renting out bedrooms, then you become more of a
Boarding house.
a boarding house.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, like, say you have a home with 3 bedrooms in it. That's one dwelling unit.
Yeah.
But it's got 3 bedrooms, and this member of the ZBA is saying to me that it's 3 units.
Are you renting it out to 3 different people?
I'm not sure you're allowed to have 3 dwelling units on the same property.
Exactly. And that came up as well.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be clear in those definitions that we're not talking about the number of bedrooms, we're talking about the number, just one unit.
The other thing with the lodger, that I had a comment
Yeah.
on, and I understand the intent of what you're trying to get at, but a lot of people use things like trusts and LLCs to kind of shield themselves from liability. And it may be that it's still their principal residence, but they're using that form of ownership to kind of shield themselves, but this language would basically kind of preclude them from doing this short-term rental solely for the fact that
Well,
it's in a,
You have the one that says the ultimate beneficial owner, right? There was,
This is the one I just printed out.
yeah, the ultimate beneficial owner.
Yeah.
So this was a change from another attorney in town. There are plenty of them that made comments. Because it used to say something like if it's a corporation, but it was hard to say, a corporation could have 15 owners, so that was very difficult. So he had suggested if the owner is not a natural person, the ultimate beneficial owner then. Which I suppose if it was owned by an LLC, like if my own LLC owned the home, then it would be me anyway.
Yeah. But most people don't know what a natural person is.
well, natural person sounds a little better than the ultimate, what is the ultimate?
The ultimate beneficial owner meaning, so if it's not a natural person, if it's not a person, if it's owned by a business.
I mean, we need a
it's the
definition,
per-
put a
it's the
definition, I
person-
think.
It's the person who owns the business, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
The person who benefits from it, not the company, the person who benefits from the company.
I mean, so if it's a family trust,
Yeah, I mean, let me say, I'm not married to any of this.
no.
I'm not, so it feels weird to defend all of this. I think I'm just trying to help us protect ourselves.
And I'm just trying to clarify so that, you know, if someone's just using the simplicity of a LLC or a trust or something to shield themselves from liability, and it's only for that reason, and not because they're the Marriott, it's two different things. So I would
Would
just
you have a
say-
suggestion on how to clarify?
I didn't have a suggestion, but I'm just saying that
It needs
it
clarification.
just needs clarification.
All right. So, before we move on, am I right in thinking that we're not going to try and impose an owner-occupied?
I don't think that was the intent of what the short-term rental is versus a B and B. And just even to reflect on, I guess, the Village of Rhinebeck is proposing to pass a law that is already, I guess,
Yeah, I think it's
gearing up
passed.
to be sued.
Yeah.
Which is on a lottery system and a limited number. So.
Yeah, and that was another question I had, if we should limit the number of permits that are given out.
That is the Village of Rhinebeck, not the
Yes.
town.
Village, not the town.
Just so you know.
All right.
Under short-term rentals, the last sentence there,
Yes.
minor thing, it says hotel, motel, or camp, or campground. Take that "or" out between motel and camp. You don't need that "or"
Yeah.
there.
Well, yeah, camp or campground is actually a thing in our code. That's why it was or camp or campground.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's, okay.
I was planning on, just to throw this out there, it's one of my notes, that to add a requirement that you have to be 21 to rent.
You have to
That'll at
be
least-
21 as the person renting or
it,
the person
as
owning?
the person renting it. Because there have been complaints of one house that I know of that is kind of used as a party house, and I guess that would help cut down a little bit. They'll be out of college, maybe.
Where would you stick that?
I'll find the place where it goes. But
Did you ask Shane about that?
I haven't yet, and after we do all this, I'm going to send this to Shane.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it as close as possible before we spent a ton of money on that attorney.
So what if a 18-year-old has his parent rent the
Yep,
property?
I know, and I know. A 21-year-old rents for 5 people, and 4 of them are 19. Yeah. It's one of those things that's hard to enforce.
The only thing that I'm a little concerned about is these definitions versus what we're working on for zoning. And how drastic a difference are these changes going to be made?
Well, we don't even have lodger and all these other things, so that.
Yeah, it's
they
really
would be
just
added in.
accessory dwelling unit and dwelling that are in the current
We
code.
feel pretty confident with this as the boilerplate initially, and then,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a while anyway before we finish zoning.
Yeah, we've got
Okay.
time on that.
All right.
What else you got, Ray?
Okay, page 2, sort of in the very middle, there's that number 3. It says to minimize public safety risks and the noise, trash, and parking problems often associated with short-term rentals without creating additional work for local law enforcement. Local law enforcement does not enforce noise and trash.
Local law enforcement certainly gets phone calls asking them to investigate noise complaints.
But they don't enforce the noise of
All right,
audio.
we can take it out. I mean,
No, I'm just saying it's the ZA that does that.
Why don't you just cut it off after rentals in the second line
yeah,
and cut out the rest of it?
exactly, it's fine.
Okay, yeah. It's just that they don't do that kind of thing. Oops,
Below that, Ray, are you finished on page 2?
yeah.
Under applicability. Why would you differentiate between effective date in terms of, see, basically, all the ones that are operating now
Yeah, right, that was another question I had.
That
are exempt.
makes them grandfathered.
Right,
Yeah, but they're like 70.
No,
right, they shouldn't be.
But I'm just saying.
they shouldn't be, but
You know.
you're right.
I thought it would be if it were operating in town before the effective date of, oh no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so what you have to do is you gotta
Requirements
say
shall apply
they have 6 months after.
operating after the effective date. So
effective
anybody
date
who's up
to
on the,
come up and get the approval.
anybody who's operating now is exempt based on this sentence, if I read it correctly.
But say 6 months later, they got to
Everybody has to comply to the,
Right.
Within some-
comply and do all
I
the
mean, you can,
paperwork.
give them a period of time.
So
Yeah.
we had a 6-month period for
Yeah.
them to come and apply.
Seems reasonable enough.
Riveting.
Riveting? Riveting? Okay.
Okay. Then the next page 3, Appendix A, I don't see that.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
No, so that was on my list of things. It's going to be like the application form and stuff that they have to do. I
Yeah,
just
and then
haven't
there's
created it
just a
yet.
little below that is Appendix B.
Yeah, those are the things that I'm going to create. They're not in there yet.
Then you have short-term rental permit. We got to keep some of these names consistent as to which one is which. It's short-term permit.
Yeah, so
That's
the
number
first one,
3.
so the first one, the registration form, those are for people that are not, that don't have to go through the special permit,
But you want to know who they are.
but we want to know who they are.
Yeah.
So that would be the first one that we create. And then the second one would be the special permit application, I guess is what it should be.
We may be able to handle it the same way that we talked about with the events.
Yeah.
Rather than having a separate form, is to just use the special use permit form with some
With
kind of a
a
checklist or
checklist.
something.
Or something, an extra page
Right.
just for that one function.
Rather than having to develop a whole new form.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can come up with that.
Yeah. And then I get into, in the 1 and 2 paragraphs, the one is 20 nights and the other is 15
Yeah,
nights.
I fixed it in one and I didn't in the other.
So which one is it?
It's the 20.
20 in both of them?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just as a information thing, I don't know if it's right or wrong, on page 3, under little c, 3 years, every 3 years to pump your septic system. Where did that number come from, 3 years?
For a normal, a nuclear family, say 2 adults and 2 to 3 kids, the recommendation is every 3 years you have your septic pumped. So I used the normal recommendation.
Board of Health or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to know where it came from.
Can I go back to the B, where it says local manager
Yes.
or someone in charge of the property? To me, local manager kind of smacks of this is a commercial, a company kind of thing as
Well, what
opposed
we're
to-
trying to do is make sure that if it is somebody who, say, lives in Brooklyn and is renting out a home up here, that we have a local person that can be
Yeah,
contacted.
but you could say person in charge.
Okay,
To me, it smacks of now this is becoming a business versus.
of a local person in
intended to
charge?
be. Just take the local manager out.
Yeah, and make it local person.
Right.
Yeah.
or a local agent.
Contact.
Contact.
Contacts probably
Contact, yeah.
least innocuous.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Indeed,
Indeed.
does the county actually provide you with a tax certificate?
So I've been going around with this with somebody who actually runs an Airbnb. If you are using a company that is not Airbnb, if you're using VRBO or Flipkey or something, then you do have to go and apply for a certificate, and the county will give it to you, and you do your quarterly filings for the occupancy tax. Airbnb automatically has a deal with Dutchess County, and they are automatically collecting those taxes and sending them. So a person actually operating through Airbnb doesn't collect, or doesn't have to apply for the permit, for the tax permit. So I think I need to figure out a way to change that wording so that we can at least see proof that they are paying the taxes, or like a quarterly filing, that they're paying the
It's like
occupancy
they do
tax.
sales taxes. They
Yeah.
send them in automatically.
Yeah.
But are non-Airbnb places, are they paying occupancy tax?
Well, they're supposed to be paying occupancy tax. Airbnb being the largest provider, the county came to an agreement with them.
Right.
Well, that's because the state sued them, and
Yeah.
they agreed to the state, and then the county
And
tagged along.
then a lot of counties
Right.
joined in.
And now I hear Rhinebeck's trying to jump onto that as well.
Well, what we're trying to do is Dutchess County has hired Host Compliance, which is a private company that will monitor websites like Airbnb and others and let your municipality know what properties are being used as short-term rentals. So that would help your zoning administrator enforce it. Dutchess County is doing this, and they're using it so they can make sure they're collecting all the taxes they need. I have asked if the town or our ZEO would be privy to that information in that database so that it would cut down in the amount of work of him trying to search out the short-term rentals. And I was told they're in discussions about it. They didn't give me a direct answer yet, but that question has come up from several municipalities.
Sort of like HIPAA.
Yeah, yeah, except that
So I would also think
we're
that,
collecting the property taxes that they're using to pay for host compliance.
I would also think that people just don't use one venue, whether it be Airbnb. And since Airbnb is the only one that's collecting the tax, then everybody should have the use
Something.
tax.
Yeah.
When these places sign up, are they exclusives or can they cross-list typically?
Oh, you mean, can you sign up on Airbnb or sign up on VRBO?
As a person,
Yeah, you
as an
can.
owner?
Yeah, you can.
Can.
You can sign up on several, yeah.
So you don't have an exclusive arrangement with one?
No. A lot of people like to use Airbnb because Airbnb actually offers insurance programs, like we're talking about the insurance that's required. That's kind of where the numbers came from, is it's part of Airbnb's general insurance that they sell to owners. So Airbnb has a wider array of services that they provide to owners, so a lot of people are using that one.
And more clout.
Yeah. And everyone knows what Airbnb is. It's kind of like using Google or Bing, you know? I mean,
Okay, page 4, F, little f, it's zoning administrator, not enforcement officer.
sorry, where is this? Page 4,
F.
number F?
Yeah.
In the middle.
In the middle.
Yep.
The other question I have is, does the zoning administrator do this on any other type of properties? Do they have that with any other special use permit?
I don't know of any.
I don't know of any, but I've gotten several comments saying that they should, that this would be something we ask a lot of people to do.
In the old days,
What we're talking about is a trespass waiver signed by the owner allowing access to the property for the zoning administrator for the purpose of inspection to verify compliance with it. So we'd be asking anybody that applies to sign a waiver, letting the zoning administrator go and inspect. I don't know if any other code that we have asks for that.
I don't either.
And if that's the case, would we want to cut it to make it more consistent?
I like consistency, so you either should make all special use permits have that same provision, or not have it.
Is this a legal thing?
I would think that we should ask Shane about it,
I think, yeah.
but I think if you're asking someone to sign it, and they agree to it, then it would be legal.
Right, if you're allowed to ask them, that's my question. Are you allowed to ask them to sign it?
Yeah.
Or in this case, you're
I
requiring
just don't know
them
if we
to
could
sign
deny
it.
them for not
Yeah,
them not
exactly.
allowing us.
Well, yeah, so,
All right, that'll be in my questions to Shane when I send it.
we talked about G,
Yeah, good,
G and H.
good cause.
Yeah, well, no, G being the site plan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I think we want to ask for something a little bit more elaborate.
A site plan?
Yeah,
What's this site plan?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
know, but
you know, given the concerns that people have raised about intrusion and, you know, privacy issues and all that kind of thing.
so just ask for a site plan.
Yeah, just ask
including
for a site
driveways and
plan,
parking
yeah,
areas.
yeah. I think just a site plan, yeah. And we can actually,
Take the word simple.
yeah, we
take
can.
the word simple out.
We can actually, when we work, if you want to do this checklist we had talked about, we could put together a list of
Mm-hmm.
items that should be included.
Okay, in H, 1, 2, 3, third line down, it says number of lodgers. Lodgers now,
It should be a capital L.
well, I don't care about
Yeah.
that. Is that families or individuals?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say families either. I think it would be rentals per year. Include the expected
Well,
rental nights per
you
year,
know.
number of number of lodgers. The number of lodgers that you expect to have in your house. So say you have 3 bedrooms that you're planning on renting out, you'd be allowed to have upwards of 6 adults, I believe it is, in this. So you would have to,
But then what about children and babies?
yeah, we did not limit those.
You're not saying.
You would also need a definition of what adult is.
Yeah.
Over 21? 18?
65. Not 18.
Well, right now, a number of lodgers would just be any person other than the owner, and that whole natural person thing that we were talking about.
Well,
Doesn't say anything about adults or children.
Yeah, and number 4 is, again, a confusing thing.
Yeah,
where
it's
it
the same
says
wording.
If not the owner is not, if
Ultimate
the owner
benefactor.
is not a natural person, the ultimate
Yeah.
beneficial
Yeah.
owner. The natural gets to be very confusing. I know it's probably legally correct. It's not in Black's Law Book, because I looked it up. That doesn't, it's not there. A lot of versions of natural, but not person. So that's why I say it, I think there could be more English words rather than legal words there.
So Jack in number 5 talked about the good clause being,
The which one?
number 5 on
Yeah.
page 5, the good cause shown.
Oh, yeah.
Jack brought that up as being vague.
Yeah, I wrote down notes for him, so. Which may include noise, disorderly conduct, and all that, yeah.
And then 6 on 5.
Mm-hmm.
I would strike everything after, on the third sentence, town board, period. Those numbers are supposed to be
Yeah.
picked to cover that.
You're right, we had talked about that
adds no
before.
value to the document.
You're right.
So that all, those 3, 4 lines come right out. Then 8, it says, if modifications are to be made to a short term, I think you mean if building modifications. I mean, it could be repainted or
Yeah,
something, and
yeah, yeah.
that doesn't necessitate that.
Well, then you want to say structural
Structural,
modification?
structural
Okay,
modifications.
whatever. I'm just trying to get some word in there.
What happens if they want to modify the permit from 3 people to 4 people? I mean, that's a modification too.
Well, but that's not structural,
Yeah, I know.
unless they count people as structures. Okay, then again on 6, number 2,
Before you do that, Ray.
okay.
Number 9, on the bottom of page 5.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, special use permits stay with the property.
Yes.
Well, this says they don't. New owners must complete a new
Permit.
A new permit.
application. Yeah, but usually,
So did put this special use permit will not
Transferable.
be transferable.
This special use permit
Okay.
is not transferable. Is not
why would you
transferable.
single this one out as opposed to others?
Because then you're kind of selling it as a commercial.
Well, I mean,
This is yearly
I don't think it is.
requirements.
First of all, I don't think we're singling anything out because it currently says special use permits are non-transferable, which is true.
Except if you get a special use permit for something at your house. and
It
you-
stays with the
You sell
house.
the house, it stays with the house.
But this is a special use permit
For
for,
use.
This use.
So is it a
Well,
use
but-
permit?
Well, if you get a special use permit to have an accessory apartment, and you sell the house,
Stays with the house.
right? The new owner does not have, so you can sell the house as having a special use permit. I mean, yeah, for an accessory dwelling. And when the new person buys the house, he gets it. Exactly. So
So more to the point would be that
That would
the
make it
new
hard for
owner would
somebody.
have to present the new information as to who would be the manager of the property, or
But it
who's
would,
the contact.
it
or-
could make it awkward for the new person buying, because if I want to buy your house, and one reason I want to buy it is because you've got this
Mhm.
income-producing property, there's no guarantee that the planning board is going to give me a special permit.
Mhm.
So if you're the seller, what do?
So B&Bs don't go with the property?
I bet they do. I bet they do.
They do?
I bet they do. I think special use permits always, I don't know of any cases where they don't go with the property.
Essentially, all variances go with the
As
property.
far as I know, it's not for the person, it's for the property. So if you sell a B&B, you're selling your license as well as the building and everything else. And so, I mean, I think this would put the owner in a difficult position, because I couldn't advertise my house as having, say, a permit for an Airbnb, because there's no guarantee that the new owner is going to get permission to continue it.
Well, they can come in and apply before the purchase.
Well, yeah, that's what they would have to do, of course. But again, why this and not others? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So you want to strike that number 9 out?
Well, I will double check on the B&B issue. As far as I know we've had cases with kennels and other things where the permit has gone with the property, even after the property was sold.
Well, I think the more important thing is that we need notice as to who the new owner is.
Oh, yeah, well, sure.
The
Of course, they're going to have
contact
to
and everything
register.
else.
Yeah, they're going to have to sign up and register and so on, but I don't know that it's reasonable to expect them to go through the whole process
Yeah,
again.
it's just a renew form, so
Yeah,
to speak,
of course, they would
versus
have-
a
yeah.
initial permit.
Right, right. Anyway, I can check on that.
Okay.
But
Yeah, let me know now.
I'll check on that, okay.
And on 6, number 2, it says, number of lodgers allowed and the maximum number of daytime visitors permitted at any one time. Again, adults, children, and babies.
It's just the number of lodgers. There's a maximum number of lodgers.
No, visitors.
Yeah.
Daytime visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how do you count them? Babies, children, and adults, or just adults? I just don't know.
I
Families
think what
come.
he's saying is just adults.
Just adults.
Don't count children.
Okay.
I think that's what he's saying.
Number of adult
Daytime
daytime
adult
visitors.
visitors.
Yeah.
Now, are we defining adults as being 21 and older if we're limiting the rental of 21 year and older?
Well, these are visitors. Because in the bottom, further down, about, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down in that paragraph, in no case shall exceed 2 adults per bedroom. So
Yeah.
you can have all the children and babies you
Yeah.
can stack in a room.
Bless them.
Just leave them in the car.
Or 12 lodgers for an entire short-term rental, whichever is less. And then it comes up several places. I'm just trying to find good cause. There's a add good cause definition, because a lot of places it says, if there's good cause, things can be done.
Where's,
It appears in different places. I'm just trying to find, I wrote the note here so I wouldn't forget it, but I gotta find where it comes from.
well, that was what I believe Mr. Auspitz was talking about, so.
You know, what's a good cause?
Where we would add, like, which may include noise,
Right,
disorderly
whatever-
conduct. you know, all
Whatever's
that
good
stuff.
cause.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very subjective. Okay. Page 7, little e down near the bottom. Trash pickup day and notification that trash and refuse shall not be left or stored on the exterior of the lot. A lot of places
garbage
have
bins.
dumpsters. You don't put dumpsters in houses or garages. They can't pick them up.
Yeah, but we've had dumpsters that were too close to the road, and we had to move it back off the road.
That's a different part, but I'm just saying, stored on the exterior of the lot. You can't put them in a stored building.
Stored in
where
the exterior of the lot outside of a refuse container.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, you got these dumpsters.
Okay.
And then the other thing is as an earlier complaint that we've had, if you use, say, the Welsh blue plastic things that they put along the road, how early can you put them out, and how late can they be out?
Yeah.
Is it 2 days, 5 days, 3 days? You pick your numbers on both sides. So that should be included in this thing too.
So, some of the complaints that Elliot and I heard while we were on the zoning revision was that even the weekenders were coming and putting their garbage out Sunday night and not taking their cans in until Friday when they came back up.
Right.
So that's an issue more than just
Well, no, but
this.
I'm just trying
So
to
do you
cover
want
this
that,
one
so
here.
you think it should be specified like for 24 hours on trash day or whatever?
Should be some sort of specification. They can hire somebody to move the cans back off
Well,
the
yeah, the
road.
local manager.
Well, whatever.
You mean 24 hours before and after?
Yeah, so maybe a 48-hour period.
I'll go.
Can you require Airbnbs to
Gotta
do
watch
that,
on
but
weekends or
not normal
holidays.
people?
Well, trash pickup
can you do
days are
that?
usually not weekends, so.
I know, but holidays are.
Ray?
Huh?
Can you require Airbnbs to do that, but not regular
Yeah.
people?
I don't,
Yeah, I feel
regular
like we're
people, you
singling
can do
it out.
something else.
That's not only an issue with leaving them out, but in the wintertime, when you got
Snowplow.
snow plows and stuff,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a major issue.
No, I understand that, but we don't have any regulations for,
We don't have regulations
Right.
for
Regular-
trash cans right now.
Right now.
So to just apply them to this.
I've got them on my own road. It's
So-
like
The only,
very
the only
annoying.
regulation we have on trash cans right now is that you're supposed to use trash cans and not black plastic bags
Right,
because
but-
you're in
but
violation
again,
of the trash law.
the same question I raised before, can you single out Airbnbs for this requirement and
I
not
think it
require
needs
it
to
from,
be
I
the
think,
whole town.
and not
That goes
require
by
it
the
for other
same.
people?
Exactly.
That's all.
And it is a problem.
I mean,
So
Can you,
come
I
up
mean,
with
because
some.
you're setting up a
I
double.
put it out at night and I
You're
bring
setting
it
up
back the
somebody
next day.
to bring up an equal protection.
Well, it's a
law.
double standard, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't know if you
Complaint.
can you reasonably do that? I don't
I
know.
think so.
Well, you're asking for a special permit.
Yeah.
You probably could, but I think it should apply
Townwide.
townwide.
Yeah.
Someone else can write that one.
But right now, I think we should put it in while we're doing it.
Yeah, I wrote it down, so we'll see.
Okay,
We'll
then.
see what Shane says.
Yeah, F is the next one. It's zoning administrator. You missed the word again.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well,
You're gonna see that a few times then.
I'm just trying to help you
Thank you.
find them. Page 8.
Yeah. This is the last page.
In I, fire extinguisher in kitchen conspicuously located. You want type and size. Do you want a 5-pounder, dry chemical?
Yeah,
That's
I know what you
generally
mean, yeah.
It-
Now, in a commercial venue, there's typically more than just one fire extinguisher required. So, I don't know if we should, well, I had comments about A, B, C, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
blah,
you do?
that we-
Okay.
That we're kind of picking out micro points, instead of saying that it must meet whatever the housing code is, or, I mean, there's probably a code that lists all these things.
There's a code that lists all.
The one that's
the building
confusing
code.
is that this B and C says that, well, A, B, C, smoke detectors must be in each room, and then
Bedroom.
outside each bedroom.
Inside a bedroom and then outside in common hallways.
It doesn't say outside common hallway, it says outside
It
each.
says outside each bedroom in common hallways.
Common hallway.
In common hallway.
Yeah.
Well, just the way it's written, it sounds like it's in front of each bedroom.
Take outside each,
Yeah.
remove outside each bedroom.
So,
I
yeah.
would talk to Lou.
So this,
Talk to Lou
so
and ask
so
him.
just to let you know, this wording came from the National Federation of Fire Safety Code.
Okay.
This is what they say that all homes should have. Certainly, I don't think they do. But I thought that maybe if somebody was renting out an Airbnb, they should.
I mean, I used to have a fire extinguisher next to every fireplace. I used to have one in the
Yeah.
kitchen. I used to have, you know, so.
I rent them out, so I have like 70 of them in my
But even
house.
in my office, we have 4 or 5 extinguishers in the office, and the Pleasant Valley Building Inspector comes in and
Yeah.
enforces that, or zoning administrator.
Yeah, I would say for the A, B, and C, talk to Lou, get a better way of
Okay.
handling it.
All right.
I think he has the right words, just a matter of getting to him.
Yeah.
And the same thing on fire extinguishers. See what he says.
And the carbon
He's a
monoxide,
fire
just in case.
inspector. He's a fire inspector.
Okay.
And then J, it says stairs, porches, decks, both indoor and outdoor, in good condition, and lighted. You can't go up and down dark stairs, you'll fall, a lot of times. And there's rules in the building code about handrails and stuff, so you don't have to get into all of that. So there's your first pass.
So I'm going to make these and then send it to Shane, because he'll hopefully be able to answer some of these questions. And then hopefully about a week before the next meeting, I'll send another version out, and maybe we'll introduce it at the next meeting. Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on discussion of a flail mower. An intermunicipal agreement amendment is being written by our town attorney to have the town of Red Hook purchase the mower with all 4 towns, Clinton, Milan, Red Hook, and Rhinebeck splitting the cost. Then the town of Clinton will store, schedule, and do maintenance on the mower. This IMA amends the original mini excavator IMA dated March 3rd, 2016. The town's expected cost is about $2,500. This would provide a backup for Clinton's existing tractor-mounted flail mower and allow Clinton to do roadside mowing quicker with 2 mowers. All will be approved at a later meeting, so I'm just trying to keep you informed what's going on that. Okay. Next one is, we do this annually, the Boy Scouts from Rhinebeck sell Christmas wreaths out here, and we got, I know it's not Christmas, but we got to put all the paperwork and stuff together. I make a motion that the town board approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves Boy Scout Troop 228 selling wreaths at the transfer station on Saturday, November 30th, and Saturday, December 7th at 7:30 a.m. until noon, with a proper certificate of insurance in place. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next one about local law to exceed tax cap. We must start now for a local law to exceed the tax cap before we approve the 2020 budget. If we do not exceed the tax cap, nothing needs to be done. It is too early to know the budget totals because we're still preparing the budget, but the process takes so long that we got to do it now. We do it annually anyways. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves proposed resolution number of 2019 entitled "A Local Law to Override the Tax Cap Limit for Fiscal Year 2019, setting a public hearing on October 8th, 2019 at 6:25 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.
It should be 2020, right? It's fiscal
Yeah,
year
it should be
2020.
2020,
I'm sorry,
right?
my mistake.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the law to override the
Yeah.
tax levy limit. for
okay,
fiscal year
2020, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now, the next one is for ice and snow control. We normally contract with the county to do essentially Center Road. There's a little odds and ends here and there, but that's the only one we do. We got to go down that road to our roads anyway, so why not get paid to do it? So that's why we do it. I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number of 2019, authorizing the town of Clinton to enter into a contract with the county for continued participation in this county snow and ice control program, and authorizes the town supervisor to sign the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The other one is the next item here, approved special meeting. This is so that I give the town clerk the 2020 budget, and then she gives the town board the 2020 town board, budget at a meeting. And this is the meeting where that's held. It's the first meeting in October. I make a motion that the town board approves a special meeting on October 1st, 2019 at 8:30 a.m. in the town hall for the purpose of distributing the 2020 budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, and resignation and appointments. I make a motion that the town board accepts the resignation of Rudy Schruel from the position of HMEO effective September 1, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
He's in the highway department, just in case you don't know who he is. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Matt Fry, his appointment, he moves into the slot that just was resigned. I make a motion that the town board approves the appointment of Matt Fry as HMEO effective September 1st, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hold on.
What? Oh,
MEO?
HMEO.
HMEO?
That's what,
That's what it says.
He's a heavy maintenance equipment operator.
that's what Theron said.
We were working on,
It's not a law.
it's not a law. Okay, never mind.
Doesn't
Sorry.
exist yet. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Warrants?
Sure. I make a motion, be it resolved, the town board approves the September 10th, 2019 general fund warrant voucher number 364 through 404 totaling $36,278.47, and the September 10th, 2019 highway fund warrant vouchers number 194 through 213 totaling $22,232.02. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Supervisors report. That's a financial record for the last month up and year to date. The town board approves the September 2019 supervisors report. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Not moving funds.
They're not moving funds, so we skipped it. Okay, anybody want to talk in the comment section at the comment? Okay, I just want to open it up. I just want to be sure. I make a motion to open the meeting to public discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the rule's the same as before. Step up to the microphone, talk to the board, comments, and try to be brief, 3 minutes or something like that.
Good evening. I'm Tim Sullivan. I'm a trustee of the Clinton Community Library, and I just want to give the board a couple of notes updating our current events and upcoming events. I was watching the meeting from home earlier, so I know that Michael gave you an update on some personnel changes and the Touch a Truck event on Saturday, September 21st. So that's the same day as the book sale. The book sale is Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 3 is free admission, and people can come in and buy used books. We're also accepting donations from the public of books that they no longer want. taking up space in their houses or their garages or wherever the books are. So if people in town want to donate books for the book sale, they're welcome to bring them to the library. Please, we only can accept books that are in good condition. Also, the same day as the book sale is our tag sale, our annual tag sale. And so we're looking for vendors. If folks in town, anybody wants to come and register for a space at our tag sale. If you bring your own table, the spots are $15, and all proceeds from anything that people sell, of course, they get to keep. If you want to rent a table from us, the spots are $25. That's also Saturday, September 21st, from 9 to 3. Michael mentioned the Touch a Truck event for kids that day that we're doing in conjunction with the fire department and the highway department. The only other thing I want to mention is we have a local author, Jennifer Donnelly, who's a New York Times best-selling author and a resident of Clinton, is going to be coming to the library to speak and to read from her new novel, Stepsister, which is the Cinderella story told from the point of view of the stepsisters. So we're hoping to get a good turnout for that. That's Saturday, October 5th at 11:30 a.m. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, next one. Ernestine.
Can I ask a question on the event thing?
Yeah, come on up.
Here, sure.
Oh, sure. Okay, Ernestine Martin, 197 Schultz Hill. On the event statement here, page 2, C. No structure, including a building utilized for the conference center or agriculture event, shall be built within 200 feet of any road or property line. And on number 6, under U, it goes on, the boundaries of the event areas shall be located at least 500 feet from any neighboring residence. So, who set those boundaries? I mean, is it Ag and Marcus that's saying 200 and 500, or is it the town?
It's the town.
The town. Okay, so when you say 500 feet, are you saying,
So if someone's having an outdoor event,
yeah,
that outdoor event should not be within 500 feet of its neighboring house.
on all 4?
Sure.
Whatever. And on the 200 feet,
It's talking about, of buildings, so no structure should be built within 200 feet of a property line.
what do you mean, no
No,
structure
it
should
says
be
200
built?
feet of, on page 2, it says neighboring residence,
Yeah,
Oh, you're in D or C?
D,
D.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought you
one
said
page
C.
says 200 feet, and the other one says
500.
500
So
feet.
one is the parking area. So D is no parking associated with the agricultural event shall be located within 100 feet of a road and 200 feet from a neighboring residence.
Oh, okay, all right, I just wasn't sure about that. Okay, and when is the next meeting at the,
So this will be for next month, so I think it's
Public
2nd?
hearing, October 8th.
At 6 o'clock. Public hearing.
I'll bring a chair.
Okay, next. Brennan, come on up. I think she's just moving to let Ernestine in there.
Good evening, can you hear me okay? Brennan Carney, Dutchess County Legislator. I wanted to remind everybody that on Tuesday, September 17th, there will be a Veterans Liaison Conference at 22 Market Street in Poughkeepsie. It's an opportunity for veterans and anyone else, obviously, in the public interested in learning more about what the Department of Veterans Affairs is doing to come out and spend some time with us that evening. I'll be there as a member of that committee. It should be quite interesting.
You didn't say the time.
It is at 6:30 PM
And building?
at 22 Market Street. That's the DMV building.
Yeah.
Come on up to the 6th floor. We had legislative session last night. We passed an independent redistricting law that I hope will help draw fairer districts and better represent the voters of Dutchess County. So happy to see that happen. And I'm working with my colleagues in the Environmental Committee on encouraging Dutchess County to sign a renewable energy pledge. So we'll see how that develops, but that's on my mind these days. Can I answer any questions, or anyone have anything they'd like me to take down there, bring up? Sure, absolutely.
No, you got it.
No.
No.
That's not, this is kind of a meeting.
So you can
I'll
tell
answer
her
your
later.
question afterwards.
You can ask her afterwards.
Okay. There's a copy, there's some information on my Facebook page about the redistricting law for anyone who wants to check it out. Good
It's
evening,
probably
thank
on
you.
the county page too.
Yes, well, the actual language of it will be, sure. Both places.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, okay, come on up.
Kim and Keith Puncher, Deer Ridge Drive again. Couple different topics. So one more comment on the short-term rental, or maybe a couple. Again, we strongly recommend that it be limited to commercial or business district areas. And another way to approach the topic of, again, I know, Michael, you've said that the goal is you want to try to have some control. The reality is you're not going to have any control. You actually have more control if it's not an allowed use in a certain zoning area, as an example, an agricultural residential area, because you could prove easier that they're operating when they shouldn't be, as a non-permitted use. Once you allow the use with all these stipulations, then the burden's going to be on you to prove it, which is going to be more difficult. So as far as making money, if somebody is illegally operating right now as an Airbnb, they need to be issued an order to cease and desist. That doesn't require a lot of time, so it's not going to stress our zoning administrator in his capacity. You give them a cease and desist, and if they ignore it, then they get brought to court. And then the town gets money when the court should find them guilty, and then you get your money that way. And then you maintain the character of those of us who live in an agricultural residential area. Again, it's a commercial business. Different if it's owner occupied, then I understand if you want to make a caveat that that could fit in. So that's, I think, it on that one, right? Anything else on that one? Okay, so 3 things actually. So we'll go to item number 2. Let's see, we had the zoning administrator's report, 2 items on the zoning administrator report that we'll address actually. So interestingly enough, when I spoke last month at the meeting, we had indicated that we were aware that one of our neighbors had submitted a complaint about an Airbnb that was functioning on our road, a non-owner occupied Airbnb. I inquired via a FOIL request to get a copy of this complaint that had been submitted, and I was told by the town in response to the FOIL request that the town had never received a complaint or an email or a call or a record about this Airbnb. So I inquired with the resident who had submitted the complaint, and actually that resident was gracious enough to give me a copy of the complaint that was submitted, which was dated March 25 of 2019. That particular resident also provided documentation via the U.S. Postal Service certified return receipt letter, which was actually confirmed with tracking information that this was delivered to the zoning administrator at the address here. And this was never included in any zoning administrator's report, nor was it ever addressed. You all were provided a copy of this because I emailed it to every single one of you today. So somebody needs to take some action, check your emails, and address this properly. This is almost 6 months after the complaint was brought to the town's attention properly, and yet no action has been taken. So pay attention to this, please. All right, the other item, so we don't have to be here all night, is the zoning administrator's report. It's interesting, I guess I was a little surprised to hear that they still have 83 Deer Ridge Drive on there as an issue. So it's and I think it's easier if I read the letter. So you've got the very one-sided view of the zoning administrator, which is quite skewed, I will tell you. I'm going to read to people because it's not a very long letter, and I talk fast. So this information was submitted to the town, and it's in the town files. There's a town file update and complaint follow-up. We sent this to Mr. Maripodi. After reviewing the items provided by the town based on our June 26th FOIL request, we feel it's important to provide the following clarification information regarding their June 6th memo and whatever notes they happen to have in the zoning files regarding our property. So the complaints reportedly being submitted by the neighbor who we have an ongoing issue with regarding our property are unsupported. They are retaliatory in nature, and for the record, a site inspection by the town as a result of the frivolous complaints being submitted is not warranted or justified, and is actually a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights to our private property. We've lived here for almost 25 years and have never had any problems with any neighbors adjacent, across, anywhere in the vicinity of us until this problem family moved in. These problems are going to continue with these people, unfortunately. Now, I think the town has to use a little bit of common sense when you're getting complaints, and the person making the complaint should have to provide some sort of substantial information or backup supporting their complaint, so that you're not running and wasting your time on all these little wild goose chases. So let's just clarify. On May 1, 2019, we did submit a written response to the town which clarified and documented that the barn that was in question with this open building permit was in fact exempt from needing a building permit and subsequent CO, which the town subsequently agreed. This is something that the town should have been capable of determining on their own. They were well aware that the building was constructed in 1974. That was before zoning existed. It's called grandfathered in. It's a pre-existing non-conforming use. It is appropriate, and it should not be an issue. The town had access to this information, and yet they continually come after us since December of 2018, when they were first informed that the barn was a pre-existing non-conforming use, and that it was not an issue. It was not required to have a building permit, nor is it required to comply to the New York State Fire Code or the New York State Electric Code, just so everyone's clear, because it's an agricultural building for agricultural use. It's clearly stated that it's an agricultural building, and yet the town is questioning if we're a farm. Well, it's a barn that was built in 1974. We specifically purchased the property because we envisioned using it for a hobby farm, and that is what we do. That is an allowed use in the town code. Residential, agricultural is an allowed use. Wildlife conservation is an allowed use in the AR5 district. So why are we being harassed by the town because somebody's submitting frivolous, unwarranted, unsupported complaints? I'm not sure. I expect it to stop. As indicated in the memo of June 2006, we provided you with written proof that our property does in fact meet the town code's definition of a farm. But what they failed to include in the memo is on the same day, we also provided the town with a copy of a police report from a recent independent site inspection that was done of our property by a New York State DEC Environmental Conservation police officer, also in response to a frivolous complaint submitted by the same problem neighbor. Okay? I gave the town a copy. In this report, throughout the entire report, it states numerous occasions, we are a farm. I further provided the town with a receipt, a sales receipt, which clarifies and confirms we meet the town's definition of a farm, and yet we're still being harassed and it's still not closed. I'm not sure what's going on. Somebody better straighten somebody out. You know, as far as also, well, you know, not sure, there's a publicly available information that anybody can access. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Google Earth. You can pull up a Google Earth image and zoom in. On our property, you can see the barn, you can see the paddocks, and you know what? If you zoom in really close, you can actually see a horse, if you know what you're looking at, okay? This really is not a complicated situation. Things need to get straightened out. I'm not sure which one of you is most in control of this, but you collectively, as our representation for this town, really have to step up to the plate here and start being objective and reasonable based on the laws that you have put in place. We have not created laws in this town. We read them, interpret them, and we follow them, and yet we are being harassed by the town, which technically could be called retaliatory enforcement and selective enforcement. Because again, another complaint that was submitted was completely ignored or supposedly lost. Well, thank God that particular neighbor kept their documentation. Not everybody knows to do that. So anybody submitting a complaint, certified return receipt, bring an extra copy with you and make the town stamp, sign it, received, keep it for your records because you're gonna need it.
Okay, that's long enough.
Well, Nah, I'm a taxpayer and I'm entitled to
No.
say things. So one last
It's
thing,
not
one last
saying
thing.
it's the time.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray. I'm entitled, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm owed this.
No.
So let me explain. There was another complaint for side yard setback that we submitted, and I don't know if this was in this report or not, for that other problem neighbor. There's still a plow within the front yard setback. There is still a dump trailer stored in the side yard setback. When we submitted the complaint, we provided you a copy with an actual survey showing you 15 feet beyond the telephone pole on that property is where their side yard setback is for a 50-foot side yard setback. You can see it from the public road. You don't have to enter anybody's property to see this other issue. And yet the town is completely okay with that. Seriously, take a look. I'm not trying to be difficult to you all, but you all have to be objective. And as far as going back to the odor complaint, we have odor complaints. Our neighbor continuously lights fires or uses a smoker to create excessive smoke, which permeates our property and our home. It affects our health, and yet the town is conveniently ignoring it. That's why they have an Article 78 lawsuit filed against them right now. And the problem people were also named in the Article 78 because that's what you have to do by law. So do the right thing. I'm encouraging you all, because you know what? You all may have good neighbors right now. We used to have good neighbors. That can change at any minute, and it could affect you. And you know what? You're going to want the town to protect you if that does happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you can address us.
Well, okay. Hi. I just want to clear some clouds. Kimberly Puncher.
No, you
No.
address us.
You talk to us.
Well, it's about the letter of complaint that you was looking for. I responded to the town clerk that there was no file based on the email and the files of Maripodi, the zoning administrator, Maripodi, and the building department and everything. Anyway, after seeing the email that you sent this afternoon saying that there was a complaint from Carmichael, I went back in the office files, and then, because Maripodi did his file, so what happened is everything that previous zoning officer, he put it aside. So from the email, I seen the date, which was March 25, which gave me the timeline that it was the time that Mike Apollonia was on his way exit out. And it was like with the envelope certified mail. So I never seen it. The first time I've seen it, first time we heard about it. So it was, I guess, delivered straight to Mike Apollonia.
Okay.
We never seen it. We haven't, I just found out today. So
Okay,
that's what happened.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I make a motion to return to regular order of business. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Do we have any more business before the board? I make a motion then to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.